Last episode, we looked at the relationship between a person and their thoughts. Today, we look at the mechanism that makes that relationship visible, attention itself, where it goes, why it wanders, and whether that can change. Here is something that might feel familiar. You sit down to do something that matters. You read one sentence. And then, without deciding to, you are somewhere else entirely. You are thinking about a conversation from last week, planning what to make for dinner, replaying something that has not even happened yet. Then you snap back and realize you have no idea what you just read. That is not a personal failure. It is one of the most consistent findings in attention research. Your mind leaves the present moment often, predictably, and without your permission. The question is not whether this happens to you. It does. The question is what is actually driving it, and whether anything can change. Stay with me, because the answer to that second question is more useful than most people expect. This is MindScope, where we turn the science of everyday behavior into tools you can actually use. Today the topic is attention, not productivity hacks, not a list of apps to block your phone. The real psychology of why focused attention is so hard to hold, what your brain is doing when it wanders, and what the evidence says about training it. By the end of this episode, you will have 2 concrete practices you can start using today. Neither of them takes more than a few minutes, and both of them are grounded in research that has been replicated across many studies. Let us start with a number, because this one is worth sitting with. In a large experience sampling study, psychologists Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert asked people throughout their days what they were thinking about, whether their mind was on whatever they were doing or somewhere else, and how they felt. The finding was striking. People reported that their minds were wandering, that they were thinking about something other than what they were currently doing, in about 47% of waking hours, nearly half the time. What made that number more than just surprising was what came with it. The study found that mind wandering predicted lower happiness, not the activity they were doing, not where they were or what they had accomplished, but whether their mind was present or absent. People were less happy when their mind was elsewhere, regardless of what they were doing while it wandered. Now, before you hear that and feel bad about your own wandering mind, here is the important framing. A wandering mind is not a broken mind. It is a default. Your brain does not idle. When you are not focused on a specific external task, your brain does not go quiet. It switches into a different mode, one that researchers have a name for. That mode is called the default mode network. It is a set of interconnected brain regions that become active when you are not focused on the outside world. Think of it as what your brain does when nothing specific is demanding your attention. It starts to review memories, simulate future scenarios, think about other people, construct narratives about who you are and what your life means. The default mode network is not a malfunction. It serves real functions. It is involved in creative thinking, in making sense of social situations, in planning for the future. It is doing something. The problem is that it switches on at exactly the moments when you need focused attention. When you sit down to work, or to read, or to have a real conversation, the default mode network is waiting in the wings. The moment your focus loosens, it fills the space. Research using neuroimaging has shown that skilled meditators, people who have trained focused attention extensively, show reduced activity in the default mode network during tasks that require sustained focus. Their brains do not go dark in those regions, but the intrusion is lower. The signal of mind wandering is quieter. And that matters, because it points to something directly useful. The default mode network is not fixed. Its influence on your attention can change with practice. This is the core reframe of the episode. Attention is not a character trait. It is not that some people were born able to focus and others were not. Attention is a resource that can be trained, and the training changes the brain in measurable ways. Before we get to the tools, it is worth being honest about what is at stake. Because if mind wandering feels mostly harmless, the research tells a more careful story. The Killingsworth and Gilbert study we just discussed was one of the largest real-time emotion studies ever conducted on happiness, with tens of thousands of data points. The consistent pattern was that mind on task predicted better mood, and mind off task predicted worse mood, regardless of the task itself. A person washing dishes with their mind present reported more well-being than a person on vacation whose mind was somewhere else. There is also good evidence linking chronic, uncontrolled mind wandering to higher levels of stress and to difficulty regulating emotion. When your attention is mostly in the past or in an imagined future, the present circumstances, the ones you can actually do something about, become harder to engage with. And there is a cumulative effect. A mind that has not been trained to return to the present keeps drifting, and each drift costs more than a moment of lost reading. It costs presence. Here is the good news, and I want to be precise about it. You do not have to meditate for decades. The research on attention training suggests that even brief, consistent practice changes how quickly and how reliably you can return your attention to where you intended it to be. The core mechanism is simple to describe. Focused attention practice involves directing your attention to a chosen anchor, typically the sensations of breathing, noticing when it has wandered, and returning it. That last step, the return, is where the training happens. The return is the repetition. The moment you notice your mind has wandered and bring it back, that is the training unit. Do that 10 times in 5 minutes, and you have done 10 training repetitions. Research by psychologist Ami Shirjah and colleagues has examined this kind of attention training in demanding populations, including military personnel. Their work found that structured mindfulness training programs protected attention capacity under high-stress conditions, reduced mind wandering, and improved working memory, with more consistent practice predicting stronger outcomes. The finding is not that mindfulness makes you feel calmer, though it sometimes does. The finding is that training focused attention makes it more resilient. One important note: if attention difficulties are significantly affecting your daily functioning, your work, your relationships, or your quality of life, that is worth bringing to a mental health professional. What we are talking about here is general attention training for an ordinary wandering mind, not clinical treatment. Tool 1. The 5-minute anchor practice. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Sit somewhere reasonably quiet. Bring your attention to the physical sensations of breathing. Not breathing deeply or slowly, just noticing what breathing already feels like. The rise of the chest, the slight pause at the top, the release. You are not trying to control the breath. You are trying to notice it. Your mind will leave. It will leave quickly and often, especially at first. When you notice it has wandered, that noticing is the practice. Return your attention to the breath, without judgment about how far it went or how long you were gone. Do not grade the session. The number of times you returned is your measure, not how long you stayed. 5 minutes a day, 3 to 4 days a week. Research on attention training consistently finds that regular, brief practice accumulates into measurable gains, and that doing more practice predicts better outcomes. You do not need a perfect environment or a special posture. You need the return. Tool 2. The single task commitment. Pick one task in your day and commit to doing only that task, with no switching, for a defined block of time. 15 minutes is enough to start. Close or remove everything not related to that task. No tabs open in the background, no phone in view. Then, if you notice your mind wandering during the block, use the same move as the anchor practice. Notice, return, no judgment. The point of this tool is not the task itself. It is the practice of noticing the drift and coming back. You are using real work as a training ground. Over time, the return becomes faster and more automatic. The two tools are related. The anchor practice trains the return in a controlled environment. The single task commitment applies the return under load. Use them together and they reinforce each other. Here is the framework in one place. Attention is a trainable resource. Your mind wanders close to half the time by default, driven by a brain system that serves real purposes but intrudes on focus. That wandering predicts lower well-being in the moment, and chronic drift carries costs over time. But the default mode network is not fixed. Training focused attention reduces its intrusion. And training is not complicated. It is noticing the drift and returning. Do that repeatedly, with a 5-minute anchor practice and a single task commitment in your work, and you are doing what the research supports. You are not trying to eliminate mind wandering. That is not the goal, and it is not possible. The goal is to build the capacity to notice when your attention has left and to bring it back cleanly. That capacity, like any skill, gets stronger with use. If this gave you a useful way to think about attention, consider subscribing, because the next episode is going to go further into this territory. We're going to look at worry, the specific kind of mind wandering where the content is negative and repetitive, and what the research says about breaking that particular loop. Before you go, here is a genuine question for the comments. Think about the last time you caught your mind wandering during something that mattered to you. What did you do in that moment? Did you come back quickly, or did you follow the drift? Tell me in the comments. There is no right answer. I am curious about what the experience actually looks like for you. I will see you in the next one.